UFC Shanghai just wrapped up, and I'm about to give you guys my recap breakdown of what I saw during the event. I'm super tired. We just got home, but this was a pretty solid card from top to bottom. So I'm going to get right to it. But first, make sure to like, subscribe, share it with your friends if they're into mixed martial arts. I'm trying to post daily content. So yeah, like and subscribe for the boy. We're about to get right into it with the first bout of the night. We have Uran Salty Baldiev and Dr. Nurgaje. So the pick here was Uran. Just been more impressed with him, just overall. And that's kind of what happened in the fight. You know, it didn't really last all too long. Ultimately, Uran gets him down, finds an Ezekiel choke submission, a very rare submission. On Wager Wars the other day, we were talking about the possibility of Uran sub. The lines weren't out yet. And then, of course, when they drop, it's a plus 1400. So obviously, we got to take a stab at that. Uran gets it done relatively sweat free. Nurgaje just, he don't got it, So there wasn't really too much to talk about here. As you can see, the strike count was low. Nurgaje ends up getting a takedown. And then Salty Baldiev goes for a Kimura, doesn't work, and then finds himself in a perfect opportunity to get the Ezekiel choke, and then he cashes the plus 1400 and the minus 148 money line. So we'll move to the next fight. That was a great performance, by the way, from Uran. Next fight we got Xiao Long and Su Young Yu. The pick here was Su Young Yu, just based off of wrestling. I thought he could win a close control-based decision, 29-28 on the scorecards. Turns out, as you can see here, 0 of 6 takedowns for Su Young Yu. Xiao Long looked pretty solid in the takedown defense department. It was a good back and forth scrap. I thought Su Young Yu in rounds 1 and 2 did the better work. I was very surprised. I thought his path to victory was going to be wrestling and control with ground and pound and potential submission threats. This fight was completely taking place on the feet, and Su Young Yu surprised me a lot. He was a lot better than I was expecting him to be on the feet. And I got to say, I was impressed. Rounds 1 and rounds 2 for me, although they were close, I thought it was clear that Su Young Yu did the better work. And then come round 3, got to give that one to Xiao Long. They started absolutely scrapping. At the very end of the fight, you see Xiao Long just like this. He probably threw like 25, 30 elbows in a row. Reckless abandon, caution to the wind. And Su Young Yu engaged with him. Su Young Yu was throwing punches, though. They weren't landing. Neither guy was really landing too much, but they were going for broke. It was a pretty solid fight to watch. Su Young Yu does the better work on the feet through 3 rounds, and he gets the decision on a close one. I thought the home judging was going to cook it for Xiao Long, but I think the right guy won here. And then next we got Yiza and Weston Wilson. Yiza was the pick. Yiza by knockout was the prop, and it cashed in 37 seconds. I feel bad for Weston Wilson, but he got lit up. Yiza just went for broke. He knew he was going to be able to get it done. Obviously, we've seen Weston Wilson finished a few times in his UFC career. Although he was finished by Gene Silva and Joe Anderson Brito, I think Yiza needed to go out there and make a statement. Weston Wilson landed 0 strikes. It took Yiza 17 strikes in 37 seconds, and Weston Wilson was out cold against the canvas, against the fence. Sorry, it has been a long night. Got up, hit the gym, did some stuff, went to work for 9 hours, immediately got off, drove to my buddy's house, stayed up and watched the entire card, and now we're here. So next we have Michel Pereira in a middleweight bout against Kyle Dawkins, and this one kind of went how I thought. The favorite play of the week, favorite prop of the week was this fight to not go the distance at minus 165. I really, really love this prop. But I thought it was probably going to be Michel Pereira getting it done in the first round. Kyle Dawkins ends up finding a knockout 43 seconds into the fight. I'm super happy about it. I was rooting for Dawkins. My thing was Pereira either gets it done in the first, Kyle Dawkins can't stand the barrage, or Pereira gasses, he can't get Dawkins out of there in the first, and then Dawkins ends up taking over the fight and potentially finding a sub. But we saw Dawkins land a clean shot, put Michel Pereira out. It was beautiful. I'm super happy about it. Luckily, I wasn't really on anything heavy in this fight besides fight does not go. It was my favorite pick of the entire card, and I'm happy that it cashed. But yeah, good for Kyle Dawkins, man. He's back in the UFC. I knew he was going to come in here looking to make a statement. That's why I thought he was going to get caught. but I knew he wasn't going to try to play it safe and win a close decision on the cards, because that's just not how you want to make your return. I feel like he'd rather go out getting knocked out trying to win the fight than trying to survive to a decision. So great performance from Kyle Dawkins. I'm happy to see him back in the win column, back in the UFC. Fight does not go the distance. Prop of the week. And next we had Rong Zhu and Austin Hubbard. This is one of my favorite picks of the week as well. Rong Zhu, he just did the better work, man. He was Austin Hubbard's tough. I wanted Rong Zhu to potentially win inside the distance. That did not happen. And Austin Hubbard's game, man. I knew that. I was thinking Rong Zhu might be more primed and ready to go, which we saw he was. He did the better work. He got taken down a couple times, but all in all, his takedown defense looked good. Rong Zhu, he looked pretty good, man. He was willing to engage. He's able to throw powerful shots without overextending too far, and thus being able to, sprawl or back away before the threat of the takedown. He's 24 years old and he has a wealth of experience. So I'm excited about Rong Zhu moving forward. This was a fight I was excited about. Austin Hubbard is a decent test. He masterclass Cody Steele in his last fight as well. So I like Rong Zhu. I'm happy. I was hoping for the finish, but the pick was there. And yeah, we'll move on to the next one. Good work from Rong Zhu, doing the better work in the striking and defending takedowns. Next fight, we got our dog of the week, baby. Charles Energy Johnson against Loney Kavanaugh, the highly touted prospect, 9-0. He was doing good, man. Charles got punched right in his eyeball early in the fight, and it looked like it might have impaired his vision. We know Charles Johnson loses the first round a lot. He starts a little bit slow. Takes him a second to get going, but this guy is pretty unbelievable. He was just surviving, and not only was he surviving, he was plodding forward the entire time. Loney Kavanaugh was looking very good, very fast, explosive, trying to mix in a little wrestling. Both guys were trying to mix in a little wrestling, honestly. More so Charles Johnson, I feel like he was getting hurt a little, not anything crazy, but he survives the first round, which I was praying for. And then come round two, late into the round, he's kind of just pressuring and overwhelming Loney Kavanaugh, who was still fighting well. He was fighting well the entire time, and it looked like he might have started getting tired. He was throwing a lot of power in his strikes. He threw 121 total strikes. Charles Johnson just, he melts people. He overwhelms you and he melts you. And as we saw what he did to Josh Van, kind of did something similar here to Loney Kavanaugh. I thought this was too much of a step up too soon. 9-0, coming off some pretty close decision wins against, guys who are clearly a level or two under Charles Johnson. Thought it was going to be too much for him. He looked good, but ultimately the experience and the dog of energy, Charles Johnson, got him the victory here. Beautiful knockout win. And they need to give Charles Johnson a ranked opponent next, man. We need to see Charles Johnson fighting a top 10. I called for it on Twitter. We need to see him fighting a top 5. Give him somebody, man. Let him fight Brandon Moreno on UFC Noche. I would absolutely love to see something like that. Charles Johnson has been grinding against contenders, or not even contenders, grinding against these up-and-coming prospects with crazy records. So I want to see him get some recognition from the big brass at the UFC. I want to see him in a contender matchup that'll potentially push him towards the title, because he's exciting, man. A lot of people really like Charles Johnson. I'm one of them. So good win for Energy. That was awesome to watch. And next we got Gage Young, Mahashate. The pick here was Gage Young. I thought this fight could potentially end inside the distance, but it was hard to go against Gage Young money line, -120. It's as close as it gets. The fight was close, man. I thought Gage Young did the better work. He was landing the better punches. Mahashate, his straights were pretty good, I guess, but Gage Young was able to find his range and just kind of get in, get out, and mitigate the damage coming from Mahashate. Gage Young did get bloodied. It looks like he has some scar tissue buildup in the orbital, so he was bleeding from there relatively early, but I think it was a good decision. Of course, he landed some takedowns and just did the better work overall. For how good this card has been, I guess this is one of the more underwhelming fights, but there were moments where they were throwing, there were moments where these guys were trying to get each other out of there. It was a good fight. Gage Young's tough as fuck. Mahashate proved to be pretty tough, and he actually looked to be a little bit more, muscular. Like he's young. Mahashate is very young, so he's growing into his adult strength. So I think he'll be back as well. Hopefully, Mahashate is kind of fun. Gage Young, tough, American, gets it done. Then we move to the main card. Man, this one was fucked up. Naraji, Ty Lake, and Kiefer Crosby. The pick here was obviously Ty Lake. I can't pick Kiefer Crosby. I did take a sprinkle, knockout, TKO, or DQ, and he should have took the DQ. He gets absolutely blasted by a knee. Like this one was vicious, man. And he, for some reason, the referee is trying to push him to, are you ready to go? Can you go? I would have been like, man, give me 5 minutes, bro. Let me decide. I get 5 minutes for this. And fucking 20, 30 seconds, he's like, yeah, I can fight. Goes in, immediately gets finished. Ground and pound, elbows, punches. He's finished shortly after. If it was me, man, he was majorly compromised. I don't think anyone would have called him a bitch. He's probably severely concussed. He could have got the win. Yeah, that was fucked up, man. Not Ty Lake. Ty Lake got him with that knee. But you know, the pick was Ty Lake, so it is what it is. We're rolling on picks here. That was pretty one-sided. You know, it is what it is. Kiefer Crosby against a relatively unknown Naraji Ty Lake. We'll see him soon. He's tall and long for the division, so we'll see what he can do moving forward. Next, we had one of my favorite picks of the week, Sumadarji and Kevin Borjas. A lot of people were on Kevin Borjas this week. I think that Ronaldo Rodriguez fight kind of got a little recency bias going for Kevin Borjas. And as far as I'm concerned, Sumadarji doesn't really lose striking fights. You know, if Sumadarji is losing, he's getting subbed. His first 6 losses in his professional career come by way of sub, and his 7th loss was against Charles Johnson by decision in a fight where he had moments of his own success. Sumadarji is a very good striker. People were underestimating him here. I heard that Kevin Borjas was faster, more powerful, more explosive, better technically. I just didn't see it, you know. So I thought in a striking fight, Sumadarji wins, plain and simple. And I was leaning him by knockout. He ends up getting it done on the scorecards. It was a complete one-sided fight, masterclass, if you will. Holy shit, the total strike numbers. Borjas, 23. And Sumadarji, 91. That's a lot. He was doing real good work with the kicks. His punching game was pretty good too. Borjas really didn't have anything for him. Pretty easy pick in my opinion. Sumadarji looked good. It was one-way traffic. I was happy for the boy. Sumadarji, you better take him down and sub him because chances are you're not going to beat him on the feet until we move up a little bit higher in the rankings. Kevin Borjas has 0 wins by sub in his professional career, so for me, 1 + 1 is 2. Kevin Borjas doesn't get subs. Sumadarji only loses by sub, unless you're Charles Johnson. So in a stand-up fight with a guy who has 13 knockouts out of 17 wins on his record, give me Sumadarji all day. Let's go. We're rolling on picks, by the way. And in this fight, I initially had Waldo Costa in my breakdown, but late in the week I flipped to Sergey Pavlovich. I just felt like he was going to get it done, and I felt like he was going to get it done by knockout. So the whole thing was, all right, either Sergey's going to finish this fight early or Waldo Cortez is probably going to point fight his way to a decision. Sergey Pavlovich gets his 2nd decision win in a row. You know, he switched up his fighting game a little bit since Tom Aspinall smoked him and then Alex Volkov picked him apart. So we're seeing a little bit different of a Sergey Pavlovich here. He was definitely playing it safe, which was annoying me. But at the same time, I understand it's not actually annoying. I just want to see people get knocked out sometimes, and it was really late, so I was a little frustrated. But Sergey Pavlovich did good work here, man. I mean, Waldo Cortez Acosta is a good boxer, and Pav, he looked good, man. He was, you know, avoiding big shots. I mean, he was getting hit up with the jab a little bit, but nothing crazy. Waldo Cortez Acosta has a chin, man. He was getting cracked. So I give Waldo Cortez Acosta some props. He was eating a lot of shots, and Sergey Pavlovich clearly wins. I thought he won all 3 rounds. I know on 2 cards it was 29-28, but Sergey Pavlovich just outboxed the boxer in this fight, and he maintains his number 3 rank. Waldo Cortez Acosta will be back. I thought he could have probably went for broke a little more at the end, but at the end of the day, this is heavyweight, and people probably aren't trying to get put out cold. I know he felt the power, and he was trying to stay a little bit safe. I think he might have thought he won the fight at the end. He had his hand up, but Sergey Pavlovich did good work here. He was the better striker. He stayed out of danger and blitzed when he felt it was necessary or when he had the opportunity to do so. So it's a good win for Sergey Pavlovich. Was not expecting him to get it on the cards, though. I got to be honest. So technically we were 11-1 on picks, but based off of my YouTube video, I'm going to go with that as my picks just because that's what I dropped publicly, even though on the Wager Wars video, and the favorite bets, some picks were subject to change, but we're going off the original video. The picks were 10-2. Next, we have probably the worst fight of the night, honestly. I don't know if that's a hot take. Let me know if you think so in the comments. But Brian Ortega, he looks like he just got off the couch. Misses weight by 8 pounds. It was briefly canceled, and then it's now catchweight bout, 153. Aljamain Sterling, he looked in shape. He looked like he was training hard. He was pretty handily winning the fight. It wasn't the most exciting. Brian Ortega was just like, I don't know, man. Not that it didn't seem like he didn't want to fight. It just seems like he hadn't been training. He looked soft. He was there. He was there to get hit. Aljamain Sterling was moving around a lot. He was landing good leg kicks. He battered the leg of Brian Ortega early and then just abandoned that game plan, I don't know if he got a couple kicks checked and it hurt and that's why he stopped, or if he just didn't realize the amount of damage on Brian Ortega's leg. But he looked all right, man. I mean, say what you want about Aljamain Sterling, but he's tried and true. He's a veteran of the game, and obviously you got to throw respect. He's one of the winningest champions in bantamweight history. Now he's fighting at featherweight. He's 36 years old and he's still getting it done. Brian Ortega, although he's pretty inactive and at this point doesn't really have any relevant wins. I mean, Yair Rodriguez was a good one, but yeah, Aljamain looked good here. He got hurt in the 5th round and he was actually running away pretty bad. He was really running away. And who was it? Mark Goddard, Herb Dean. I can't remember who the ref was. I'm tired of shit, but he actually got warned for timidity. And he ends up landing some pretty solid ground and pound at the end. So it was a good win for Aljamain Sterling. He did what he had to do. We usually see backpack Aljo. We usually see the grappler. But he went out there. He knew there was a submission threat in Brian Ortega. Didn't want to take any chances and instead took chances on the feet. And he outstruck Brian Ortega. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Aljo, but Brian Ortega looked like he didn't train a single hour for this fight. He came in soft. He missed weight by a hell of a lot. I don't know what he's going to do from here, but Brian Ortega needs to seriously think about cleaning some things up or potentially making the move to lightweight that he's been talking about for so long. Good one for Aljamain Sterling. I would like to see him in a title eliminator next. Featherweight division stack, so we'll see what they do. But yeah, underwhelming a little bit, that fight. Aljamain Sterling did good work. Very clear winner, 50-45. And then here we had the pick, man. Johnny Walk clutched us up. We were up big in the prelims. I knew that's where the money was. And then the main card is where it got a little bit suspect. So Johnny Walker saves the day by knockout. It's crazy because for the Wager Wars pick, my pick was under 1.5. And I think the fight should have been stopped 7 seconds before the overhit. And then, of course, 2:24 left in round 2, the fight gets stopped. Or 2:23 left in round 2, the fight gets stopped. So the under does not hit, but Johnny Walker does win by knockout. He started the fight off crazy. He fake glove touch, immediately shot in on a crazy takedown, finds himself in bottom position. It was like, uh-oh, it's about to be lights out for Johnny Walker. And he gets back to his feet. A couple brief submission attempts, kind of, barely. And, he was circling a lot. He was moving a lot. Zhang Mingyang, at one point in the 1st round, I believe, he was getting clinched against the cage and he was taking big breaths already. This man has not been out of the 1st round in quite some time. And Johnny Walker's a pretty freak athlete, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it was going to come down to who cracked the other one first. And I just felt like in a fight where Johnny Walker has 6 losses by knockout, Zhang Mingyang has less losses, but 3 of them come by knockout, why wouldn't I take the shot on Johnny Walker? Zhang Mingyang by knockout, minus 250. Johnny Walker by knockout, plus 525. Seemed like the value play of the day for me, honestly. And Johnny Walker ends up landing as he's doing all his circling around, running around the cage, being crazy, doesn't know how to throw a jab for some reason, and he has the longest reach. He ends up landing a leg kick, and it looks like it caused his foot drop to Zhang Mingyang. We didn't even get to see him bring the foot up to see if it was limp. He just immediately goes down, and Johnny Walker swarms him. I thought the fight should have been stopped and the under would have cashed, but it didn't. But either way, Johnny Walker gets the knockout. He's back in the win column. He goes to Shanghai and shocks the Chinese fighter in Zhang Mingyang. I know a lot of people weren't picking him. We picked him. We picked him by knockout. We got the Johnny Walker PSA 9 signed card. I'm a big fan of Johnny Walker, even though his fighting style is very frustrating at some points. I think this card was awesome, man. You know, for having to not like I think it's a disservice to fans or anything at all. The UK fans have to deal with this every single weekend. I was happy to stay up all night, got off work, drove over to my buddy's house, made some burgers, watched the fights, and they were entertaining all the way through. You know, I thought it was a solid card. Like I said, we went 10-2 on picks. It's a pretty good week for us. You know, the picks have been pretty on point. Dana White's Contender Series went 4 out of 5 both weeks so far. Dana White's Contender Series picks will be dropping either Sunday evening or Monday afternoon. So I'm excited to get to that. UFC Shanghai, all in all, was very good. And I'm probably rambling a little bit, but I am super tired. I have not slept in quite some time. But it was a good card, you know. Top to bottom, we had some pretty solid underdogs like Johnny Walker and Charles Johnson. The boys got it done. A lot of the confident picks hit. The favorite props were hitting. So always be on the lookout. We drop full card breakdown, favorite bets video, recaps, conversation pieces, Dana White's Contender Series comment. If you're still here, let me know what you thought about the card in the comments, and like and subscribe. Share it with your friends if they're looking for somebody who's dropping consistent content. That's what we're doing here. Mike Talks Fights. We'll be back for Dana White's Contender Series on Monday. Let's get it.